Oh yeah, what's up, man? It's man, Triple B Best Boxing Facebook. We're right here. We're here for the funs, man, and talking shit. Still talking shit. You know what I'm saying? Yo, so yeah, I'm just like chilling, waiting for my bus and thing, and I'm like thinking, you know what? Arslanbek Makhmudov, yeah. Now, obviously, I just done a video of him yesterday, and I'm saying like, come on, man, he surely the value is on him smashing Dave Allen, you know. And then watch that video. I'm not going to go through that again, why and what. You know, watch the video. It's done yesterday. Believe that. So, yeah, but I was just thinking, he's always fascinating me, that weird-looking guy, bro, you know? He's one weird-looking guy, obviously. You know, he's massive, 6'5.5". Quite hairy, you know? Well, a bit hairy. He's not massively hairy, but he's got this ginger beard. You know, and his rusty hair that's like wiry and thick. This huge head. This massive head. I don't know how many cubits it is, but it's a massive head, bro. And, you know, and of course he's got his eyes are way too close together. You know? His eyebrows are weird, you know, they're like sort of, I don't know, he looks like an ogre. You know what I'm saying? Or something. I mean, is he human, this Makhmudov? Is he actually a human? And if he's not, what is he? You know, he looks like another species. I ain't never seen a man look like that. Now, I know that part, I think he's from the Caucasus area, right? A lot of them have that kind of weird look with a big head. You know what I mean? And big, you know, they're quite often quite strong. You know, people like Khabib has got quite a weird look. He's got a weird hairline, innit? Like his hairline is like halfway down his forehead. His forehead or his five head, whatever you want to say. Right? Does he not, right? Yeah. You know, guys like him, big heads, strange shaped heads, very square head, weird features. I mean, they're white skin, but they don't look European, do they? You know. Huh? They don't look like Europeans. They look like a different species, and especially Makhmudov. I mean, I've never seen a man, an alleged man, look like that. Never in my life. Never. Walking down the street or whatever, or any other guy on TV. I mean, there's Valuev, okay? Nikolai Valuev looked like a Nephilim. You know what Nephilim is? It's a giant. Now, Nephilim is the official name, like, from the Bible. And before Noah's time and so on, they used to... there were these giants roaming the earth, and they used to eat humans and grape women and stuff like that, and they got wiped out, I think, in the flood. I think that's correct to say. But it's not just the Bible that talks about giants. Every single culture has legends, if you like, myths, has stories about giants. And there's loads of, there's loads of skeletons of giants, some of which have been destroyed by the Smithsonian Institute that control what we know. They pretend they're like a museum of human heritage or something like that, but they're not, man. They're there to cover up the truth. But there's still some of them survived. In Ecuador, there's this like 10-foot skeleton of a human. And weird stories, very weird stories. And Valuev is obviously massive. Now, he had some pituitary issue. Yeah, but still, man. So, you know, a lot of guys, like, you know, like if you know, things like, sometimes people are just massive, like Shaquille O'Neal, Yao Ming, and they look normal. You know, they're just huge humans. Then you get guys like Nikolai Valuev, and I don't know if you remember him, but George Morizan, who's the tallest NBA player ever. You know, they've obviously got pituitary issues, and, you know, they got kind of overgrown features, and it can be dangerous for them. I don't think they've got a massive life expectancy. But Valuev obviously has that. You can see he has an absolutely massive head. It's like a boulder, a huge boulder, you know. So this Makhmudov, you know, but he doesn't seem to have a pituitary issue. He's not actually, I mean, he's big, 6'5.5", I think 260 pounds of massive ogre. But you know, I've never seen a man with a face like that. Never in my life, man. He's frightening, like I said to you. And he's got a weird hairline as well that dips really low, halfway down his forehead, like Khabib, you know. These people they ain't human, man. They need to be like, I don't know, maybe they have a lot of, what's it called, not Cro-Magnon, what's that, Neanderthal DNA as well. Maybe they have a lot of Neanderthal DNA, or maybe they got some Nephilim DNA. Because that ain't human, Makhmudov, when I look at him, you know? You know, he's an ogre, a Nephilim, or a Golem. Do you know what a Golem is? So a Golem is like this creature. It's in Jewish mythology, right? They're these massive creatures that are brought to life from clay or mud, you know what I mean? Apparently by human, right? Using rituals, you know, incantations and stuff like that. And apparently it's stupid. It's not very intelligent. I mean, I don't know much about Makhmudov, man. I've never seen him interviewed. I mean, you know, he ain't on no social media. I have no idea what this man's personality is like or what he thinks. Probably not a lot. He's probably not very high IQ, is he? You know? And even the way he boxes, that's a low IQ way of boxing. He just sort of, you know, there's no real skill to him. He just clubs a man down, bludgeons him. But yeah, the Golem, so apparently, they you know, if you do these incantations around clay or mud, yeah, they appear. And they're these huge, clumsy creatures that protect and help, you know, the owner. But they can, you know, they're also low IQ and they can get up to all kinds of trouble and, you know, you know, they say, you know, become unruly or dangerous. You know, it's very weird. They're in a lot of literature, like Jewish literature. So it's quite weird that they're like, so under control of you know, the man who's created them. You know, they would like obey them, but they become, like I said, they become unruly and difficult to control sometimes. You know, it's a very weird myth. But is Makhmudov a Golem as well, or Nephilim, or some kind of ogre? You know, all these cultures have got ogres. You're not talking about giants, right? So in all around the world, you will find stories of these giants. You know, one of the most famous giants stories recently is very recent, okay? In Afghanistan, right? In Afghanistan, there was a creature, apparently, in a cave, a huge giant in a cave. I think it's called the Beast of Kandahar, right? And there are loads of stories about it, right? You know, it's up to you whether you believe it or not, but it's a very strange thing to make up for a bunch of squatties. You know what I'm saying? And they came to this cave, and soldiers were coming in and checking it out, and they got ripped to shreds by this giant or something like that. Yeah. And you know, it was apparently over 12 feet tall. The U.S. Special Forces found it, and they also, I don't know, they apparently have 6 fingers, 6 toes, 2 rows of teeth, and it's got some kind of spear, some basic spear, you know, like a sharpened stick. And it's ginger. Yeah, it's ginger. They're always ginger, a lot of these giant stories. Check them out, man. And what's Makhmudov? Well, he's ginger, isn't he? He's ginger. Always ginger, man. And yeah, so you can find out this legend. Look it up, the Giant of Kandahar. Anyway, yeah, so I mean, what is Makhmudov? I mean, he ain't human, surely. As I said. You know, there's definitely something with... I'd like to see his DNA get inspected so we can find out where this creature is from. You know? It might just be... I mean, I can't believe it's his DNA is... It might just have a lot of Neanderthal. He looks like a Neanderthal, allegedly, but like Neanderthal... You know that humans interbred with Neanderthals, right? Except Africa. All Africans... Sub-Saharan Africans lack Neanderthal DNA. But every other human race has Neanderthal DNA, which is interesting. Neanderthals, contrary to what we're taught about, you're so, you get normies and they go, oh, you're like a Neanderthal, like it's an insult, trying to say they're real primitive. Neanderthals were actually very sophisticated and intelligent, right? But they were overrun by Homo sapiens, and they interbred a bit. So there's no pure Neanderthals left, but, you know, they were massacred and bred. So there's no pure Neanderthals left. But if you look at Makhmudov, I'd like to know how much Neanderthal DNA he may have, you know. I think especially they were especially active around the Caucasus region. So, but the Neanderthals were not big. They were not that aggressive. You see, Homo sapiens were bigger and more aggressive, and they rolled them over, which is kind of tragic. But like I said, there was some interbreeding, so there's still Neanderthal DNA knocking about. You know what I'm saying? But Makhmudov is also a very big guy, so you know his DNA, it can't be ruled purely by Neanderthal genes because they weren't very tall, they weren't very big, and he's a monster. You know. But yeah, I'd really like to have Makhmudov give his DNA. And I don't mean give DNA to one of those scams. You know those scams like Ancestry, 23andMe that claim to be able to tell you where your DNA has come from. It's nonsense. Because if you think about it, right? Well, how far did you go back? You know, I remember my family who was stupid enough to actually send his DNA to not one, but two of these agencies. So now these private agencies, right, who are owned by Rogans. I don't think I need to tell you that. Yeah, if you're any brain, if you're red pilled, you know what I'm talking about, right? Own his DNA. It's just mad. Why would you do that? Oh, it's really interesting to find out where. But they contradicted each other. The results contradicted each other. And I know there's Irish blood, right, in the DNA, but not according to 23andMe, nah. And apparently there's loads of Scandinavian blood, and there ain't no Scandinavian links. So it's BS. As I told you, right? Yeah. Remember the salamander, right? There was a guy who posted, right? You remember there's a guy who posted on the Serbian hairstyling forum, right? If you know, you know, yeah. And to make to see, to test, right, their process. He took a swab from his. He had a pet salamander, so he took a swab of his salamander, and he sent it to one of these bogus companies, and they sent back the DNA of the salamander. No joke, man. And guess what? According to one of these companies, the salamander was 49% Western European, so it's very vague, and 51% Ashkenazi Jewish. So this is how he dressed his salamander. Check it out. So this is how he dressed his salamander. It shows you how ridiculous it is. Anyway, right, if you think about it, right? Now, by the way, the so-called out of Africa theory, many people think is utter rubbish. Rubbish. There are many other theories, the humanity. I mean, firstly, right, evolution is a scam. If you believe in that, then you haven't, all you've done is believe what you're told. If you actually examine the science of evolution, it's laughable. There's barely any evidence. Yeah? And the king of evolution was Darwin. Yeah, and I don't have to tell you, of course he was secret society, right? Now, as he got older, he even said, nah, it's rubbish. My theory is utter rubbish. All he did is look at a few bones and come up with his theory. You know what I'm saying? And he said it's rubbish. There's a creator for sure. I mean, if you go and look at, people don't even look deep enough, the trillions upon trillions of probability that had to be exactly right. Like, the earth being exactly the right, having exactly the right elements, being exactly the right space away from the sun, rotating and blah, blah, blah. And, oh yeah, we'll start off as a bunch of mud. What a load of... Oh, come on, man. You believe that? You believe anything, man. It's a joke. I remember before I was a Christian, right? I didn't believe in evolution. I thought this is nonsense. There's a law. There's a philosophical law. Yeah, it's called Occam's razor, I believe, right? And it's like, in the absence of any further serious concrete evidence, 100% concrete evidence, you've always got to lean towards the most probable explanation, right? Now, the number of coincidences, allegedly, for evolution, are upon the trillions and trillions. It is so unlikely that by the law of Occam's razor, and just being logical, it's so ridiculous, right, that you should dispel it. You understand me? Now, when I was like agnostic, or I didn't believe in in God, and I just went about my business, and but even then I was like, this is ridiculous. It's so ridiculous to be laughable, but I couldn't find an explanation, that fitted in with my then beliefs, right? Because I didn't believe at the time in a creator, right? But I was like, man, I didn't really know. But I definitely knew that evolution was nonsense. And I didn't really care anyway. I'm here, I'm there, and that. I'm going to make some money. I'm going to get some woman, get some pum-pum, have a laugh, keep myself healthy, you know what I mean? I wasn't really bothered about these big questions, but now I am, obviously, and everybody should be. So, what I'm saying is I've got off on a tangent again, right? But, all these ancestry.com and 23andMe that claim to know where you are, that's nonsense, man. They told you a salamander was 49% Western European and 51% Ashkenazi. I mean, what a hack. And there was the other one, right? This is a bit different, but there's a guy, I think from Tanzania or Uganda. Tanzania, I think it was, right? And he wanted to prove that the whole Kyovyid, as Ricky Atton says, thing was a hoax. So what did he do? Yeah, he took swabs off a goat and a mango and sent them to their labs. And they both came back positive with COVID. One of them was a mango. A mango can't possibly get COVID, and a goat can't either. I mean, and then he died in mysterious circumstances. What a surprise, what a surprise, what a surprise. It's funny because, the most base governments are actually third world. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not so, controlled like they are in the Western world. Anyway, back to Makhmudov. Yeah, so I don't know, man. Like I said, I want to see his DNA tested, man, and I'm sure there will be some interesting results. As I said, I don't mean tested. I mean tested by a genuine scientist who knows what they're talking about and who's independent. I'm not talking about any of these whack, stupid, fake private companies that make up this nonsense. And like I said, because humanity's migrated and moved so much, how can you say, oh, you're definitely Scandinavian, this and that? It's like, well, hang on a minute, mate. If you go back a bit further, when allegedly no one in Scandinavia was completely barren, there was no one living there, so how can you say I'm Scandinavian? Because if you go back further, there was no one there. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's a scam. Like everything that the mainstream media tell you, it's a scam. But back to Makhmudov. Yeah. You know what? I found out he did actually have an Instagram. You know what I'm saying? I thought, he ain't got no social media. So I had a look at his Insta. And it's quite nice, actually. He'd been on holiday. Obviously, he's a Muslim. So, he takes that seriously. He's been to Morocco. Chilling out. He's been riding camels. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He's been riding camels. And look at this giant with a local Moroccan. Yeah. But this is what I found quite sweet. Yeah. They go to a zoo. And there's this giraffe. He's a bit rough with the giraffe, I think. He's trying to pull it. But, he obviously giraffes are such beautiful animals, man. You know what I'm saying? They just so beautiful, man. And, Makhmudov shows a bit of kindness towards this animal. I mean, I think he sort of pulls his head a bit, which is a bit so the chat can say hello. But yeah, apart from that, I don't really know much about Makhmudov. Like I said, he doesn't do a lot of, I don't know what his personality is like, really, apart from being a fighter and a Muslim and a potential giant. But anyway. What do you guys think, man? Please hit me up in the comments, as the American channels always says. Hey, I'd like to hear your comments. And remember to like and subscribe. And also, they're always pushing products. The American channels are so whack. Yeah, because there's no real soul in them. They're all about, if you watch American channels, they're all about, selling products, getting more subscribers and likes. There's no soul there, bro. There's no reality. Because America's been brainwashed, that programmed to think that everything is about money. Everything is about success and numbers and money. And it's throughout the Western world. But especially in the United States, we know why, because they're controlled by financial institutions and corrupt media and corrupt politicians. Same in the West, but the difference being that it's pushed far more in the US. Their god is mammon, money. Now, obviously, you can't generalize about Americans that easily because it's such a genuinely diverse country. You got Mormons, you got Amish, you got hood rats. You know what I mean? You've got batty boys, but they will push. The media are controlled. The media and the politicians are 100% control, and people will say, these kind of hoes, OnlyFans, but it's they're making money, so it's okay. Yeah. Oh, so what about degrading themselves? What about the effect on their mental health? What on their brain and on their status? I mean, imagine, and some end up marrying and having kids. I mean, imagine marrying some hoe that's had every Tom, Dick, and Harry bust a nut on them. On camera. They ain't no things. And I can't stand it. Even like Daily Mail would say, prawn star. No, they're not a star. They're hookers. They're brasses. They're scumbags. Disgusting. And then what? They kids are going to watch their mother getting, smashed all over the shop. This is the sickness of the society we're living in. And the United States, I said, not the people, although many of them obviously have been pulled in by it, not the people, but the people that control it have poisoned the world with their sick culture, their sickening foreign policy. According to them, going into Vietnam and dropping Agent Orange and napalm and killing loads of, 1.4 million Vietnamese died in that war. Only 95,000 Americans. And all they do is churn out films about the poor Americans. It's sickening. It's sickening. Oh, you remember there's a song in there? No, 19. The average age of the combat soldier in Vietnam was 19. We're supposed to cry a river. And by the way, I feel sorry for those poor guys that were forced to go in the army. Yeah, I feel sorry for those poor guys. To some ridiculous foreign financial war like that. Political war like that. You get me? Right? I feel sorry for them. But you know what? The story is, these poor guys, these poor Americans. 1.4 million Vietnamese died, and we're talking poor people. We're talking guys didn't have the weapons. 1.4 million Vietnamese. And I think it's only 65,000 Americans actually died. In the 10-year war. It's sickening, man. Anyway, I'm looking forward to Dave Allen Makhmudov. And, I think the Ogre, like I said, the Ogre, the Nephilim, the Golem of bludgeon Dave Allen. I've had a few comments saying, no, Dave's much better, now he's got a kid and all that. Oh, come on, man. He's still limited. Oh, he's never been knocked down. He's still been stopped 4 times. You don't have to be knocked down to be stopped. He has got a good chin. Yeah. But Makhmudov's got a huge ogre head. He was stopped because of a swollen eye, and by Guido Vianelli, he was stopped because of body shots by Caballero. Caballero is exceptionally skilled, as I said anyway. What do you think Caballero will do to Dave Allen? The same. Batter him. But, anyway. Makhmudov, the Ogre. The Ogre. Please put in the comments, like the gay American channels. Hey, make sure you put in the comments what you think. Is, Makhmudov a Nephilim, a Golem? Or is he an Ogre? Is he Neanderthal? Is he human? Is he another species? Yeah. I'd be interested to know what me fans think. Anyway, take care, guys. Peace.